From the moment I could remember, my life seemed to orbit around my younger sister, Lena. At 23, she was only 2 years younger than me, yet my parents had treated her like a delicate treasure. She was the center of attention and privilege in our family, while I was cast into a supporting role. If I got a new gadget, Lena would throw a tantrum until my parents took it from me and handed it to her. When I worked tirelessly at 2 part-time jobs to buy a used car, they rewarded her whining with a brand new one. My parents' favoritism didn't just hurt me, it fueled a resentment I could never quite voice. I remember staring out of the window as I watched her drive off in that shiny car, the one I couldn't even dream of owning, only to hear days later that she'd crashed it. They brushed it off like it was nothing, as if her mistakes didn't carry the same weight as mine would have. I was the eldest child, they'd remind me. I was supposed to understand. By the time I turned 18, I couldn't take it anymore. My life was constantly reshaped and diminished to suit my sister's whims, and my family's enabling only grew worse. I packed my things and left with no regrets. Lena mocked me as I left, snidely reminding me that our dad was already planning to knock down the wall between our rooms to expand her personal space. That final jab hit hard. I didn't argue. I just turned my back, knowing that my future lay far from a home where I'd never be more than a shadow in Lena's light. The first months on my own were rough. I moved into a small, dingy apartment with a friend and took up a job at a local mechanic's shop. A trade I'd picked up in high school when I spent hours tinkering with the car I'd bought with my own hard-earned money. At first, the job was grueling. The shop was a small, family-owned business, and the workload was heavy. I'd go home each night covered in grease, my hands sore from wrenching bolts all day, but there was satisfaction in each day's hard work. This life, this independence, it was mine. Over time, my skills grew. I learned more from my colleagues and gained a reputation for reliable work. The physical labor grounded me, each repaired engine or fixed transmission a testament to my growing expertise. Without the constant demands of my family, I finally felt what it was like to be my own person. This small job at the shop wasn't much, but it was a start. It was during these years that I cut all contact with my family. No calls, no messages. I needed space to figure out who I was without their expectations pressing down on me. Slowly, I began saving up whatever I could from each paycheck, dreaming of a day when I could open my own shop, a place where I'd be the one in control. By the time I turned 22, my dreams had become more than just idle thoughts scribbled in notebooks. I took a leap of faith, using my savings to lease a small space in town. The location was modest, but I poured my heart into it, transforming it from an empty lot into a functional mechanic shop. I reached out to old clients from my days at the mechanic shop, inviting them to visit. I marketed the business on social media, offering discounts and specialized services. I worked long hours, pouring every ounce of energy into making my business succeed. The first few months were challenging. Customers trickled in slowly, and the bills piled up faster than I could pay them. But I kept at it, driven by the knowledge that I'd built this on my own. And then, slowly but surely, things began to shift. A couple of positive reviews on social media led to more customers, and word of mouth did the rest. Soon enough, my shop was buzzing with regular clients and new faces alike. With each passing day, I felt a pride I'd never experienced before. This shop wasn't just a business. It was a symbol of everything I'd fought for, every injustice I'd overcome. I'd built something entirely my own, and for once I could stand back and feel genuinely proud. Then, one afternoon as I was working on a tricky engine repair, my phone buzzed with a call from an unfamiliar number. I picked up, and the voice on the other end jolted me back to a world I thought I'd left behind. "Hey, it's Lena." Her voice was unmistakable, laced with the same tone of entitlement I remembered. She hadn't changed. "Oh, hey, it's been a while," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about something important," she said, not bothering with pleasantries. "Mom and Dad said you opened a mechanic shop, and they think it'd be a great idea if you hand it over to me." Her words felt like a punch to the gut. My silence must have surprised her because she continued undeterred. "Think about it. Since you've already built the shop up and everything, you don't really need it. I could take over, and you could, I don't know, find another job. Mom and Dad say it would be the right thing to do. A wave of anger surged through me. After all these years, they still expected me to sacrifice what I'd worked so hard for Lena, as if my dreams and ambitions were something they could just claim whenever it suited them. No, Lena, I said, my voice firm. This shop is mine. I built it from scratch, and I'm not handing it over. She scoffed, her tone dripping with disbelief. Don't be so selfish. It's just a shop. You know I'm better at dealing with people. Mom and Dad say you're overreacting. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. I don't care what they say. This isn't just a shop to me, Lena. It's my life's work. I worked hard for this, and I'm not giving it up. I could hear the frustration in her voice as she tried one last attempt. Fine, be that way. But don't come crying to us when you realize how hard it is to keep it running. I hung up, my hands shaking, a mixture of anger and relief flooding through me. For once, I'd stood up to my family and protected something that was mine. They could call me selfish, but I knew this was the right decision. The days after that conversation felt different. For the first time, I didn't feel burdened by the expectations of others. I continued to pour my energy into the shop, investing in new tools, hiring a young apprentice to help with the workload, and expanding my services. Business continued to grow, and I felt more at peace than I ever had before. Then, a few months later, a letter arrived at my shop. It was from Lena. I hesitated, wondering if I should even open it, but curiosity got the better of me. In the letter, Lena's words surprised me. She acknowledged that she hadn't realized how hard I'd worked or how much I'd sacrificed to build my business. She admitted she was struggling to find her own path and, for the first time, expressed something close to respect for what I'd accomplished. It wasn't an apology, exactly, but it was a step toward understanding. I folded the letter and put it away, not needing to reply. Her words didn't change the past, but they brought a sense of closure. I could move forward without resentment, knowing that I'd finally been able to protect what I'd built and that, at least on some level, Lena understood. The following year was one of the best of my life. My shop flourished, and I expanded to a larger location, hiring a few more employees and taking on bigger projects. I found joy in mentoring my apprentice, passing on skills and advice I'd earned through years of hard work. One evening, as I locked up the shop, I stood in the quiet street and looked back at the sign proudly bearing my name. I thought about my journey, from a frustrated kid overshadowed by his sister to a business owner with a life of his own. For the first time, I didn't feel weighed down by resentment or the need to prove myself. I'd built something meaningful, not just for myself, but for the future. With a deep breath, I turned away, ready to go home. I'd broken free from my past, and now, the path forward was mine alone to carve.